On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.
Let's kick it off. Shalom and welcome to a live taping of the CJN podcast Rivkush. It is a podcast of Jews of color talking about all things Jewish. And I am so happy today because one thing I didn't tell my guest is that I kind of low-key lurk on her Instagram and for quite some time now. So this... I like to pretend that it was Nadia's idea, but really and truly, I've always had her in mind to be a guest on this podcast, so I am so thrilled. And her CV is incredible. Like, I feel like such an underachiever, actually. So her name is Ysabella Hazan, because I love that name, and we're going to talk about her name, Hazan. And one of the things that I absolutely am just in awe of, and I get stuck on, is the fact that you started law school at 19. I'm trying to think of what I was doing at 19, and I think I was in university, but I was like partying. So I'm pretty impressed. Anyway, she has 2 degrees. She has her degree in civil law and also her JD of law, which is really impressive. Worked for the Israeli consulate, started a grassroots organization called Decolonize Judean. Got it right, didn't I? And she is among Canada's top 13 advocates and has also been included in the world's top 50 Israeli activists. She has won a distinguished leadership award both in 2019 and in 2021 as a leader of the Montreal Jewish community. We are so blessed. I am so lucky to be sitting here with her. And just to add even more, Ysabella has just come back from Israel via some country and then spent an inordinate amount of time getting to Toronto from Montreal because the airline kept canceling her flight. So it's been quite the journey for her to come here. So let's welcome her. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for welcoming me in your community. I'm so honored to be here, and I had an amazing time catching up with you before the podcast. You're so fun, so I'm very excited for this conversation, Rivka.
Yeah, we're just gonna like literally figuratively let our hair down and just talk. When we spoke earlier, because one of the things I had mentioned to Ysabella is that we love playing Jewish geography, and I really love to dig into who we are, where we're from, because we're a diverse people. And when I had mentioned that, you had said to me, when I said your background is Moroccan, you said...
I don't identify as a Moroccan. My first and foremost identity is I'm a Jew. My family left Morocco with about 300,000 Moroccan Jews and 1 million Mizrahi Jews because we were not part of the countries that we were, I put in quotations for the people listening to the podcast, from. And they made it very clear we weren't Moroccan. As Jews, regardless of our diaspora experience, we are indigenous to Judea. It's where our culture revolves around from. So it's an identity that it's a complicated feeling when I see the Moroccan flag. There's a homey aspect to it because of the Jewish Moroccan elements. We contributed to the countries that we were part of everywhere. So many unique Jewish Moroccan foods, experiences, and culture. But it's the Jewish part that we kept at home. Mm-hmm. So right. I'm a Jew first.
Yeah. And then it naturally led to the conversation that we started to have, but we kind of said, let's save it, all around your grassroots organization called Decolonized Judean, because we know that there's been a lot of conversation around colonialism. I always struggle with that word because I think it sticks in my throat, especially when it comes to Israel. So we always, we hear those words thrown at us, Jews or colonists in Israel or Palestine, and you have taken that narrative and flipped it upside down. And so I want you to share your thoughts around that.
Of course, I'll start about how the idea and how the movement came about. At first, I had in my Instagram bio, decolonized Judean, because this was a term that I deeply identified with. As I mentioned before, I didn't feel Moroccan. It was clear that my family was displaced from Morocco, that we had to leave. And I was always grew up in a very Jewish community, very proud of my identity. And I had it in my Instagram bio because it was something that I deeply identified with. And then I had people messaging me on Instagram saying, can I put it in my bio also? At first I was like, wait, that's how I feel. You also feel that way? And I was like, yeah, go ahead. And this kept happening more and more. And I thought to myself, okay, Ysabella, there's something here. There's something that has touched the Jewish people. This was back in 2020. This was 4 years ago. It's crazy how time flies. And the reason why I identify with this term, decolonized Judean, first let's break it down. The reason we're called Jews is because we're from Judea. So that's why I use the word Judean. I could have said decolonized Hebrew, decolonized Israeli. Mm-hmm. But the word Judean is what I felt, more authentic. Looking back at it now, I think the only way to really describe it would be in our indigenous language in Hebrew, Yehudi or Israel. Am Israel would be the most, I think, inclusive way to do it. Right. And then the word decolonized. So to decolonize is to undo the worldview, to undo a non-Jewish worldview from a Jewish perspective, to see our culture, to see who we are, to learn about ourselves from a Jewish lens. So it was rejecting all these non-Jewish notions about what it meant to be Jewish, whether it was notions of God. I find that a lot of our view of God is a bit distorted. It's a bit of an immature view that's a little bit Christian sometimes, when it's like a monotheistic God somewhere far away. Mm-hmm. We believe in the Ein Sof and Ad Milevado. God is one, not there's one God, and that's a big difference. We can talk about that a bit later.
Absolutely.
So for me, it was a way to identify that was close to my heart. And we started this movement. It was really a movement, and then we slapped it on some hoodies, and that's how it kind of got started.
We slapped it on some hoodies. That's how you start a movement.
No, but we did. We did, and it was the people. No, people say it's a clothing line. I'm like,
okay, I need
really,
that,
it's
right?
Not.
I need that hoodie.
I got you, girl.
Okay,
I got you.
Right.
When I'm back in Montreal, I'll send you over some.
I'll go to Montreal to get.
I'll even give the synagogue a promo code. No problem.
Do you hear that? Promo code.
So that's really how I identified what felt most authentic and needed for the Jewish world right now. Mm-hmm. And that's how it started. And the reason why I say I slapped it on a hoodie, because some people call it a clothing line. I'm like, that's really not what it was intended to be. It just happened to be. The hoodies are nice, they're cool, but there's nothing really particular about the material, the design. It's just a dope hoodie because of the meaning behind it. Right. It's the meaning that Jews were attracted to, especially Jews who I find are their diaspora experience was in Europe, or who happen to also be white passing or white functioning, because a lot of their experience is to be, and as all of us, to be pushed away from our land. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that they felt especially drawn to it in a unique way because, given what people call us white colonizers, we know it's not true.
On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.
When we think about how how diverse we are. And yet that's the narrative that's taken hold, is that Jews are these white colonists of this land that belong to brown people. And we had talked about all of this and the fact that when you use that kind of terminology too, it tends to also racialize things, right? It's brown people versus white people. And I think we're actually seeing a lot of that happening today.
I think you should mention the story earlier that we spoke about when you were at the rally.
Oh, yeah. At the rally, the March for Israel.
Amazing turnout, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Toronto.
I'm telling you, I'm still overwhelmed.
Seriously.
Yeah.
I was proud to see that.
We stepped up. But I think because I am acutely aware sometimes of the fact that I can be defined, and I use this terminology earlier, as kind of the undercover Jew. Is she or isn't she? She's wearing a star. Is she or isn't she? Right? But in settings like that, I know it really confuses non-Jews. So as we were walking along at Bathurst and Shepherd, where the counter protesters were, it's a very polite way of saying it because that's not what I actually mean in my head, but when they were standing there, like we were in the first row, and one of them like looked right at me and was like this, like gesturing, like, what are you doing there? And then gesturing like over here, and just like looking super confused. Like super confused. And then I gave my typical, Rivka sneer, and it was like, yeah, whatever. But that is what we're facing.
They were
right?
shocked. They're like, didn't we not try to build bridges with this community and appropriate their suffering to scapegoat the Jews for whatever issue it is? Like,
exactly.
Did we not work hard enough on that? Like,
they
they're
have to
stunned.
ramp it up.
How dare you be like, first of all, black and Jewish, and then number two, like, they didn't know that. Be a person of color and support Israel, which is
go figure.
The craziest thing to them.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Like absolutely shocking. But this that narrative though, like how do you feel people are within our community? How are they responding to it, like the decolonization? Because even though it may be an outside concept, I think there still needs to be some work within our community to understand our indigeneity. Ooh, I said it. Our indigeneity, because I think it's a new concept for some Jews.
I agree. I think there's many ways that we need to decolonize. And when I say decolonize, I mean connect to our identity from a Jewish lens. That looks different to everyone. I'm recently reading a book by Rav Kook, and it's translated by Rabbi Ze'ev. And he was talking about how we each have our own Torah, our own interpretation of things, and how can one be religious, but how can we all be religious and follow the same rules but be different? But we believe in a living Torah. We believe in that there's a different way to connect, while we all have different unique talents and different elements of our soul to come in this world and to fix, to have our tikkun, and we can connect in our own unique ways. So when I say decolonize, it doesn't mean to all be the same. I just want to clarify that, because that's something that I find people ask pretty often.
That would just become like this homogenous like
thing where we're going to go back in time and go on camels. This is not what decolonizing means.
Go on camels.
Yeah, it doesn't mean to.
That would strike fear in a lot of people's hearts, right?
I feel like that's
mine included. I'm not fond of camels.
That's one of the things. Me neither. I actually was recently in Morocco, and sometimes they serve camel milk. So I was like, no. Side note.
Yeah, the face. No. Yeah, that's a hard no.
I was like, so that's like one of the layers that we have to decolonize, or to connect deeper to identity with. I would say the way our community can do this is, first of all, on a personal level, because once you start on a personal level, then it'll affect change everywhere. And I'll give a personal example of how I decolonized my kashrut, my kosher. I grew up in Montreal, a very traditional, very Sephardi home. So that means Shabbat dinner, and that means after we can watch TV together. That's the vibe. I started keeping Shabbat. You know the vibe.
I'm sorry, that kind of makes sense to me. Kidding.
We're on the Bima.
Yeah, I know. Kidding. Where's Rabbi? Okay,
I started keeping Shabbat when I was 12, and it was the best decision that I ever did. At the time to disconnect and really connect higher. But to go back to the kashrut, I was in a Jewish history class. Wait, first of all, back it up. So I always kept kosher. When I say kosher, I never mixed meat and dairy. I always ate kosher meat. But if I would go to a restaurant, I would have salmon or maybe have a pizza. Now I wouldn't do that. So when I was in secondary 4, that's what, like 12.
I was going to say, can you not do it in Quebec
Oh,
speak?
sorry. Excuse me. I thought this was a
Secondary
Canadian
4,
thing.
sure. Grade 12? Secondary 4? What is
I think
that?
it's grade
It's grade 10.
Thank
I'm
you,
like,
Nadia.
That makes
Fellow
so much
Montrealer
sense to
have my
me.
back there.
Secondary 4 equals 10. Okay.
So when I was in grade 10,
10.
excusez-moi, my Jewish history teacher, Morefima, was talking about the Jewish experience in Spain and talking about the Spanish Inquisition. And he had said that Jews had a choice to eat pork or to die. And many Jews chose to die. Of course, the rabbinim of the time later said, pikuach nefesh, we choose to live. But it got me thinking, I am the descendants of Jews who made a choice. A choice to preserve their Jewish identity. A choice to honor their commitment to Hashem and to our people and to our ancestors. How can I, in a world where you just look at a hegsher on a package, not keep the highest level of kashrut? So that's when I started to keep kosher and a higher level of kosher because, so that's when I started to keep a higher level of kosher. And as time went on, it was difficult because my why, if you think about it, was the Inquisitors. If the Inquisitors didn't push that onto us, if the anti-Semitism wasn't there, would that have made me keep kosher? No. Oftentimes we see anti-Semitism can be a spark for us to connect deeper to our identity, but it's not deep enough for us to have it and to stay committed to it. So as this mitzvah, as this obligation was getting harder for me, especially socially, forget the food part, going out to restaurants with your friends.
Right.
There's like 5 kosher restaurants in Montreal. That was the difficult part. I said, I'm going to connect deeper and I'm going to know my why because clearly my neshama was drawn to this.
I love that you're saying that. The why.
The why. Of course, we have to.
love it.
We're very much focused on halacha and the details, but we should have more of a holistic view why we do things. And when we have a deeper reason, we don't get stuck in the minute details, and it's so important.
Right.
So now when I keep kosher because when I eat, I want to be able to elevate something so animalistic, something that's such a need, and elevate whatever it is that I do, and to connect higher. So now whenever I eat, I make a bracha, I make a blessing. And they say also when you make a blessing, you create an angel. That is how I personally decolonize my kashrut, because now I view my kosher from a Jewish lens. I don't keep it because Inquisitors gave us a choice. And that's a personal way that I decolonized. So forget the fact that people call us colonizers, the land that we are from, the land that our Hebrew calendar, our seasons revolve around. We have Adar Bet so that our calendar can be readjusted so that the seasons match exactly with the seasons of Israel, not any other land, not Europe. People say, tell me to go back to Europe. Like, do I look European? Come on. So be for real.
But so that is a common chant.
It is. And it's socially acceptable.
I don't understand that. But whatever. But that is the chant.
It is, and it's unacceptable. But this is, to go back to it, this is a way for us to decolonize, to look at whatever it is that we're doing and to ask why. And I think together, the way we connect to Israel, a way to decolonize, and I'm going to talk about what I know is the greatest mistake in Jewish education, whether it is in Jewish schools, whether it's in synagogues, or wherever it is. I see it online. Israel is not a safe haven for Jewish people. Yes, in practice, it's a place for us to go and to be safe, but October 7th, the terrorist attacks that are ongoing, I was just in Israel. 3 days ago, there was a Jewish man that was murdered in Kalkilia, burnt alive in his car. We didn't go to Israel because it's the safest place to be for a Jew. Let's be real. Let's clarify that. We have Israel because we have a mission as the Jewish people to return to our land and to use that land as a vehicle of light. We are tied to the land. We don't have Israel because it's a safe haven for us. It's not a bunker. It's not a plan B. It should be our plan A. And the greatest mistake in Jewish education is when we fight for Israel online or we fight for Israel on the news or wherever it is in academia, we say, but if we didn't have Israel, where would we go? But then we can have any other land.
And even the whole narrative of that we have done about how Israel was established, which I don't even like to use that word. It's a reestablishment or rebirth, whatever the case may be. But we tend to follow that narrative of Israel being created in 1948 because of the Holocaust, which also speaks to your point about it being the narrative of it's a safe place as opposed to what you just said.
Our homeland,
Exactly.
where our culture revolves around. We have the Shiba Taminim, the 7 specimens that originate from the land. Our culture is tied to the land. We're not even technically a religion. If you don't believe, I recently saw someone on TikTok convert, a Jewish person thinking they can convert out of the tribe. And all the comments were like, you're going to die Jewish. It's like, you can't leave us. It's like, you're born Jewish, you die Jewish, you're stuck. There's nothing to do. And any other religion would be like, okay, you're no longer with us. Bye. Like, you're missing out. And we're like, you're stuck. Like, this is this is what it is. We're not even technically a religion according to our own belief system. Because even if you reject our belief system, you're still part of the tribe.
We
wish
like
you'll flesh them up, but you're
stuck.
still part of the tribe.
You're stuck. That will resound with me. You're stuck.
You're stuck. Mm-hmm.
You're stuck. You made me think of something that I just found today. And I'm just going to read it because I think it ties in. It's a quote. Judaism is a land-based agricultural religion and culture, with Jews maintaining a sacred and spiritual connection to the land of Israel throughout our historical consciousness. The concept of land relationships and stewardship forms an essential cornerstone for the indigenous identity of any indigenous peoples. Native American Jewish activist Lonnie Dawn.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
And I think what's great about that quote is it acknowledges the fact that being indigenous, even though as Jews we were there, prior to any of the colonizers that were there, it doesn't have to do with the first peoples of the land. It has to do with the relationship to the land. And a part of decolonizing is understanding that. It's not just a superficial word that we can throw as a gotcha. It's very profound. We are the ancient custodians of the land. The land responds to our touch. People like to say that it's a colonial thing to say that before we got there that it was a desert, but it actually was. It was a desert. There was malaria swamps. When the Jews came back to our home, we made the land flourish. We made the land green. And what a lot of people don't like to mention also is that we brought economic opportunity. So a lot of the Arabs that are in Israel today, many of them identify as Palestinians, but a lot of them came, from Egypt and other parts of the Middle East because of this opportunity. I have a friend, Saeed. He lives in Yafa. His mother is Palestinian, but his father came from Egypt to come and work the land and figure out economic opportunities. Right. We brought that in. We made the land flourish. And they say that our sages tell us that when the Jews return back to Jerusalem, the Shekhinah, the godly presence, will be on top of there. So we have this belief system attached to the land. And even though, I like to say this because a lot of the enemies of Israel, when I say Israel, I mean the land and the people, because we're one. Israel is literally encrypted in our soul and our DNA. They like to call us colonizers to the land that we are from, but they should connect or at least see what we see, what we tell ourselves. They should know, I put in quotations, their enemy's story. They're making us the villain of their story, but even if they don't believe it, they should know our, mythology. Our mythology is all about Israel.
Right,
Jacob's ladder, the dream.
Right.
Every inch of land you dig, you find Jewish artifacts.
But do you feel that because it sounds great for us to say that, and it kind of reminds me of the conversation we had earlier about listening to narratives and understanding narratives, but do you feel that there is an undercurrent of they actually don't care? Do you feel that the dislike of Jewish people is so intense that they don't care?
I think it's both. Of course, people are going to be inherently anti-Semitic. We know that. It's not new for us. But I think as Jews, we have a responsibility to accurately tell our story. I see a lot of people use the counter argument when we're talking about issues of color, saying, Israel is not a colonial white state. Most of the Jews came from the Middle East and Morocco. Well, then you can be a brown colonizer. That's the thing that I don't get. It's like, it's so superficial.
It's not about the color of your skin. It's about your actions. It's about what you do. 100%.
And when we are the ones saying, oh, we're not colonizers. Look at the Moroccan Jew over here. She's dark.
That actually drives me crazy.
That argument is wrong.
It actually drives me crazy.
It's as if we're giving the other side on a silver platter. Look, you're right. We are brown colonizers instead. Sorry. It doesn't make any sense. It's a very superficial way to relate to, number one, our identity. It's the same way that it's superficial to call Israel a safe haven for the Jewish people. Great if it is if it ends up being a safe haven, but we have shown clearly that we're ready to die for this land and to bleed for this land. So that's not why we have it. It's not to be safe. And the 5 aliyahs that came to Israel before that, did not come because it was safer, because it was nice. So it was not.
Exactly. Israel. Wow. So after October 7th, we had planned, a bunch of executive directors had planned to go to Israel, and I had a lot of trepidation about going, not because of physical safety, more about, am I going to recognize the country I love? I can't even really articulate it. But you also went fairly soon after October 7th. How was your state of mind? Because mine was all about, will I recognize Israel?
That's a very powerful thought. When you mentioned it to me before, I thought, wow, that didn't even pass through my mind. Mm-hmm. I was in the head frame of, I'm studying for the bar exam. I just finished law school. I'm going to study for the bar exam. October 16th was the start date of when we would get our materials out. And my mind was just simply not in Montreal. I just kept thinking, I need to go to Israel. I need to go to Israel. I need to go to Israel. Everything that I do, I want to use the tools that I have to advance Am Yisrael. So I made the decision that was a bit hard, but not hard at all at the same time, to pause the bar exam and to change my track and go volunteer in Israel. Cool. I was just like, I need to go now. I couldn't think. I was trying to study. I was like, just do it. It wasn't working. Mm-hmm. So I just had this immense pressure to go immediately. And I think a lot of Jews also had that gut reaction. A lot of people like to say, they're going to resist us, but they're going to resist us. They're going to push us out of the land. October 7th is going to scare us. Their resistance, but there was more Jews going to Israel than there were Jews leaving Israel. And the airlines were
people
full.
Making Aliyah too.
People making Aliyah too.
Yeah, it wasn't just visiting or helping out.
Anti-colonial tactics of resistance, like butchering our people, will only bring us closer to who we are. Anti-colonial tactics don't work on indigenous people. So going to Israel, I just had the urge to go. I just needed to go. Once I landed, there was rockets every day. It was many times a day. It's when Hamas had.
Because when did you go?
I went, I think under 2 months. I think a month and a half.
Okay.
Whenever I can get a flight, it was very hard to get a flight. Yeah. So I got on the quickest flight that I could. There was rockets nonstop, but there was this profound sense of achdut, of unity, of love, and there was a profound understanding that we, regardless of our differences right now, we have a mission and we are going to, be united. That was a period of time where, unkosher restaurants were kosherizing their kitchen, where, I went to the shuk and there was a guy who was, there wasn't even bargaining. I saw a shuk vendor put money in his pocket and I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. Israel's not okay.
Yeah.
I saw that happen.
Seriously.
So it was a very powerful experience going right after October 7th. It was different than my experience now, that's for sure. I think Israel is getting a little bit somewhat back to normal.
Oh, I agree. It's like I know you hesitate
to say
mode. Normal, but it's kind of like it's still not normal, but I think more like survival or just steady.
But
that's
steady. Part of the issue also, because prior to October 7th, there is this common talking point that we say, before October 7th there was a ceasefire. That's not true. Israel would have rockets fairly often, and I think we should have treated every rocket as what it was meant to do, annihilate Am Yisrael. And
treat
we got
them as an act of
with
war?
It.
Treat them as an act of war?
Maybe like that.
Just a thought.
Maybe a rocket and, tunnels are acts of war that we should, not normalize. So I'm scared that we start to normalize that again. And I think if Israel, this is a side note, would have, taken those as acts of war, things would be very different now. I think we acted a little bit. No, we don't have the luxury of asking ourselves at this point in time, how did October 7th happen? But I think what we should be asking is, how do we allow ourselves to be in a situation where Hamas was in power, or where we also forcefully removed Israelis and destroyed communities in Gush Katif because of American pressure? That was the Israelis who left didn't give up the land for peace. The ones who left wanted to live there. And what peace did we get? We got October 7th.
It's some hard lessons, right? And then, there's still a lot more to come because we are very much focused on October 7th, after October 7th. And sometimes we push down, I'm saying we, a generalized we, push down, there's the north. My favorite place in Israel, other than the Negev, I'm a desert girl, is Metula. Every time I go to Israel, we take the drive to Metula. I have that obligatory picture wearing the Roots sweatshirt in front of the Canada-Israel building. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're talking about.
And Metula is not there.
No.
It's not there. And the north is like...
on fire. The north is on fire. The north is under attack. And right now we're dealing, Israel's enemies, they're terrorists, and we like to paint them this way, but they're also very smart.
We've made that mistake.
They're not some sort of disorganized, non-intelligent people. They're very politically intelligent. Look how they speak to media. Look how they control the narrative very well. Iran is, what I'm worried for is, in this war, is not that Israel can't defeat Hamas. Israel will, even though there's some American pressure and, maybe they're having us, fight with one arm behind our back. Ultimately, we will succeed. I have no doubt. And I believe in our people and in the heroes of Israel fighting. But Iran can play the long game. And they could try to drain us out. I was so sad when I went to Israel because the beaches, they were empty. And I hate to admit that, but it was empty for the summer. And if Iran wants to do this, they have all the time. They don't have democracy. They're gonna be there. They're gonna wait it out. They're just gonna wait to see what's gonna happen in Israeli politics. They have time to wait.
Like, who are we kidding? One of the things a soldier had said when I was in Israel, he said they're playing about Hamas because they saw the intelligence and saw that Hamas was studying the politics of Israel, the schooling, everything, stacks of stuff.
Hebrew.
He said they're playing the long game. And that's something that, he said we should have
caught on to.
The long game. We have been putting out fires and playing the
patching up the boat.
Rinse and repeat is what I call it. They shoot, we shoot. U.S. says, okay, behave yourselves. Israel, behave yourself. Okay, let's negotiate. Okay, ceasefire. Okay, pause. They shoot, we, so we've been playing that game, which they've also been playing, but they've also been playing the long game. We're checkers, their chess.
2021.
It's crazy.
That was what, a 10-day conflict, a 10-day war. They didn't want to exhaust themselves. That was like a test run. They wanted to see what the response would be. I guess it wasn't enough to establish deterrence to not have October 7th. It was a test run. They did what they threw rockets. There was a mini war. They tested out narratives in the media also, that too. But Iran, who's orchestrating this, the head of the octopus, who's really in charge who has their proxies and trying to create a ring of fire around Israel, they know very well that Israeli economy cannot withstand years and years of war. Right now, there's no tourists in Israel. It's crazy.
Still, eh?
Still,
there's May when I expected, because it was the what I call the Yams. There was hardly anybody, but still not.
No, there was not. Like, Tel Aviv beach should be packed.
Yeah, it should be.
The hotel should be packed. You go to the beach, you don't have to even. The chairs are empty. There's only a handful. There's a lot of Israelis, but you hear Hebrew. You don't really hear English. You don't hear Italian. You don't hear the French. As much as the French are annoying on the beach sometimes, I miss them. I do. I miss Ice Café עכשיו in Bulgarit. I miss them. It's quiet.
Remember those words, okay? Because they will be back.
B'ezrat Hashem.
Oh my gosh.
But we will win.
Sorry?
We will win. I believe in Am Yisrael.
I don't even. For me, that's not even a question.
Not a question.
It's not a question. For me, it's more like, it's just long. It's just long. You know what I'm saying? And you're right. How much because we're still people, and there's still, like you said, stresses on the economy, stresses on the psyche, stresses on the
soldiers.
Absolutely.
I met with a soldier at the Sheba Medical Center, Aaron. He was a person in tech, and a lot of the soldiers on the front lines just are reservists. They have to go back to work eventually,
or school.
Yeah, that's also why I forgot to mention this. A motivating factor for me to go to Israel immediately after was, how can I be studying for the bar exam when Israeli universities are still closed? I have to be with my people. it was a profound urge. They opened up like many months later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, they did. Wow. So school. Law degrees. Again, I feel so insecure.
I wish the podcast can see the face you make. It's like half the...
No, I think it is so awesome. Like, it is just so, and you're just so, I love seeing the focus, you know? So I just love it. But what I want to know is, what are your plans around it? Like, what's your goal? What's your thoughts and how you're going to utilize your law degree?
So
degrees.
Okay. There's many ways that I want to use my law degrees. I know that one thing's for sure. I want to use whatever knowledge or talents that I have to advance Am Yisrael. This is something to me that came natural since I'm a kid. I've always had this urge. Someone that I would love to work with, manifesting. So you guys send positive energy is Hillel Neuer. I really respect.
Do you hear that? Anybody have any connections? Hook her up with a job straight away.
Y'all hiring? No, just joking. So I really respect him and the type of work that he does. I recently did a video with him. It was great.
You have to check that out on Instagram. It's amazing. Yeah.
Thank you. Something like what he does, he holds the UN accountable. There's a lot of Jewish legal figures that I look to. Eugene Kontorovich, he's an amazing academic. He really sets the legal arguments. So I think we need more. Well, we have amazing legal minds, Jewish legal minds, but I think we need more Jewish legal minds fighting for Israel in a way that's like accessible. That's something that I always really focused on, especially with decolonized Judean, is breaking hard concepts and making them, palatable and easier. Right. The issue with that sometimes is like, do you want to get into sloganeering or how deep could it be? But when we want to change the culture and shift culture, we have to do that. So one of my goals, I guess, is to make law and like Jewish arguments with the law. I feel like I've spent 4 years studying the law of Isav. I eventually want to start studying halacha more, but I want to be able to use these tools and to integrate them to fight for Israel in a better, more credible, more nuanced and way, and also in a different forum. So that's what I would like to do. I have some micro goals, like working with Hillel Neuer is a micro goal. I would love to work with someone like him. Hopefully clerking at the Israeli Supreme Court once I pass my bar exam. So I have micro goals that.
Clerking for the Israeli Supreme Court, you're calling a micro goal?
No, like a short-term goal.
Okay.
No.
I'm thinking micro as in little. I'm like, no. Am I hearing right?
No, because it's temporary.
Okay, so it's my translation that's off. Okay.
No, I mean like temporary. Like, it's not. It's something you do for 6 months.
It's not the big thing. Yeah. Okay.
So I have many smaller goals that I want to achieve, but they're very ambitious, like the Supreme Court. I would love to do that. I know some people who have, and gonna ask them for advice. But for now, I'm really just focused on passing the bar exam and working on my activism. That's really the goal.
So the UN, you made me think of something, because we started to talk about it a little bit, and I did jot it down because you spoke with Hillel and the whole thing around UNRWA. So full confession, in the back of my head, I know about it and this and that, but it wasn't until I went on that interesting course where I had to learn to expose myself to other narratives and appreciate what other people say about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It was a very tough couple of days, but nonetheless, one of the things we delved into how this organization was established, and I heard things that I may have known but didn't really process, like around the fact that once a refugee, always a refugee. Yes. I was like, I actually had to look at it again. I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. And it actually had me shook. It actually had me angry because I finally actually sat and paid attention. And I'm like, who thought that this was okay? And how could we, not we as Jews, just we as a society, be so stupid? I don't think there was any other word I can think of. It's like, so they could become Canadian citizens, but they're still refugees, as is, grandchildren, great-grandchildren. Like, come on.
Right. It's like the Syrian refugees who came to Canada. In 3 generations from now, in 1 generation, their kids, and once they come to Canada, are no longer refugees.
That's the normal course
exactly.
of it.
UNRWA essentially created the refugee problem because they're passing down refugee status from father to son, from generation to generation. That's why you can have someone with like Bella Hadid tell you with a serious face, I'm a refugee.
Okay, so I'm just going to cut in. You have responded to her stuff, and I inside and outside, I'm actually laughing because I would love to see the two of you in a room, and I would love to see her leave crying because I think that's exactly what would happen. It's like sometimes when I hear her speak, I just think to myself, just please stop talking. Please stop talking. Just wear your nice clothes. Just wear the nice clothes. But yeah, you have made a couple of things specifically in response to her and cake.
And cake, yes. So Bella, as we call her.
What did you call her?
Belush. That's what we call her on Instagram. Are you not on J Insta? It's Belush.
I'm like the worst Instagram person ever.
So from one Ysabella to another, I had to set it straight. Except
Oh, okay. Then we need to start calling you Ysabella.
Ysabella.
We need to start calling you Ysabella.
Yes.
Let's get rid of that.
Mm-hmm. Ysabella is my diaspora name. So Ysabella is a name that's authentic to my roots and my ancestors and that are connected to Israel. Bella is half European, I believe. Actually European.
And if I have a say in your name, because, I think I do, we're going to call you Ysabella.
Okay, I like it. I actually tried to get Ysabella going for a long time, but it just didn't catch. It just didn't work. So whenever I'm in Israel, I say I'm Ysabella. It catches on. I wear my Ysabella necklace. But once you have a name and your friends are used to your name, just doesn't work.
Just stop answering them.
It's like, who?
When they say Ysabella, just keep walking.
Who's that?
Eventually they'll get it.
My rabbi calls me Ysabella, so at least that.
So then there it's
We're
set.
in a synagogue now, so Ysabella.
So what's going on with you, Ysabella, and
Bella?
Her.
Her. So she posted a very nasty lie that said that the 4 hostages that were tortured by Hamas were well treated, and that one of the hostages was actually given cake on his birthday. Cake. So what really happened was this hostage was held hostage by a journalist who held someone hostage, an innocent civilian kidnapped from his home. He held him hostage.
Journalist and physician. Wasn't he also a physician?
Apparently.
Uh-huh.
He had wrote
do no wrong, do no harm. Anyways, carry on.
He had wrote for the Palestinian Chronicle and Al Jazeera. He actually wrote a piece while he had a hostage in his home. An Israeli hostage in his home. So he had tormented him with cake on his birthday. They starved him, they beat him, they kept them in dark rooms, they were held hostage, and they were tortured. Let me repeat that. These hostages were stolen people who were beaten in the dark and stolen innocent people. And she had posted that Hamas, first of all, it wasn't Hamas, technically. It was a journalist. It was a civilian, technically, who held the 2 boys hostage and tortured him with the cake. He tormented him. And I had said that Bella Hadid is just, if not more, disconnected than Marie Antoinette's Let Them Eat Cake.
Yeah.
Completely disconnected from reality, could not be further from the truth.
And
Noah Argamani was held as a slave. As a slave, she was the slave of the family, the wealthy family in Gaza, who had her do the dishes, tortured her. Our people were mistreated, and they're trying to make the case that the hostages were well treated, which is insane to me, because how does that help? What does that do? It doesn't legitimize your cause. It's legitimizing hostage taking.
And quite frankly, I can't swear I'm on the bima, but quite frankly, it doesn't matter if they were treated well, treated poorly.
They were stolen.
They're hostages, for the love of God. And it stops right there.
She also mentioned that they were, released, something along those lines. But Almog, Shlomi, Andre, and Noah were rescued in the most iconic way, in a historical way. We might not even know the details of this mission.
Because apparently it was just
apparently there was some Muslim IDF soldiers who were on the ground and doing some reconnaissance to get her, to find out where she was hiding in a building. We might not even know the details. These hostages were not released. They were rescued by Israel in a heroic mission.
Mm-hmm.
So they will lie to you, bold-faced lie to you, and
it's just the traction that they're getting, and it's kind of disheartening because you like to think you live in a world where experts speak about what they know about, and it seems like everybody is an expert on everything. And we talked earlier about Bridgerton, and
I didn't think that was going to come up.
Because I binge watch Bridgerton, that I'm surprised I'm not speaking with a posh English accent right now. But somebody said, well, this particular actress is turns out to be, anti-Semitic, whatever. And I was like, no, don't ruin something else for me, because it's too much now. It's too much, And okay, if I don't expect X to have an opinion on Y. But yet, for some reason, because some people have this platform, they think they can speak. And it's so dangerous.
I'm going to bring this down to even something more local.
Mm-hmm.
In Montreal, I recently went to City Hall, and Mayor Laplante was saying what we do to protect. Her answer to anti-Semitism and what to do to protect it was, the police, and that the police are there to protect, and the police will intervene, so on, so forth, and that's what it is. That was her answer to the rising levels of anti-Semitism. Police. And how does this connect to Bella Hadid? Well, the answer to Jew hatred is not policing. That's like once it's too late. That's when it gets physically attacked. So when you have a culture where someone like Bella Hadid can say hostages were fed cake and will tell it to you and believe it, when they're calling us colonized land that we're from, when they're telling us to go back to Europe when Europe is the place that gassed us, when they're saying these things and it's accepted into culture, that's the issue. That's where we have to fight it within the culture, because 100%. Policing won't help. And that speaking to the mayor and hearing their responses is there's something that's not being understood here. There was a pogrom this week in LA. That was not a protest. That was a pogrom on Pico Street, the synagogue that was protested. They was protested because first of all, we don't protest synagogues, we don't protest places of worship. There's no because. But apparently their reason was that there was an event that was selling land in Israel.
Oh, like what they did here.
By the way.
They did that here.
Yeah, in Montreal also.
At the Bayet.
And it goes to show you, whatever inch of the land that they say is occupied, it's not a genuine criticism, because they're not talking about the West Bank. They're talking about Netanya. I also don't think any part of the land should be Judenrein or Jew-free. So if Jews want to buy land in Area C of the West Bank or grow anywhere else, I'm all for that, living in the land of our ancestors. I don't think that should be a controversial take at this point in time either.
Well, I have to say thank you. Not I have to, I want to. You are incredible. I hope this is the beginning of a long relationship.
It is. You're so fun and so knowledgeable. I'm grateful you had me on.
No, it's not about me. It is about me, but it's not about me.
Girl, it's the Riv Kush show.
It's about us.
I'm a guest.
It's about us. And I'm so glad that I had this opportunity to sit down and have a conversation with you.
Thank you.
And I'd love to continue the conversations, and let's figure out what to do moving forward. So thank you. Thank you so much.
You.
And I just want to say a general thank you for everyone. Thank you to Beth Tikva for hosting the live taping of the CJN podcast, Riv Kush, produced by Michael Freeman, theme song by West Side Gravy. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
On the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz comes an unprecedented exhibition about one of history's darkest moments. Auschwitz, not long ago, not far away, features more than 500 original objects, first-hand accounts, and survivor testimonies that tell the powerful story of the Auschwitz concentration camp, its history and legacy, and the underlying conditions that allowed the Holocaust to happen. On now exclusively at ROM. Tickets at rom.ca.